remarks, and then we'll open the floor to questions. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. As you know, I always start out with thanking you for your coverage because it has made a difference and continues to make a difference, so thank you. It's a great day here as we get to tip off the 2025 AT&T WNBA All-Star Game. Thrilled to be here in Indianapolis, a city that clearly has been buzzing with basketball energy these past few seasons. So I wanted to extend a heartfelt thank you to Herb Simon and Steve and the Simon family, Mel and Kelly and the entire Indiana Fever organization. Their passion and commitment has truly made this All-Star experience unforgettable. So, and this wasn't, everybody was involved in a ton of planning around this. The players, the fans, everybody who loves this game. I want to thank our amazing partners, our All-Star title partner, AT&T, also the presenting partner for WNBA Live, Panini. I actually just came from there, and the energy, I was just so impressed. It was incredible. I think it was our best yet. This was an idea a few years ago that was just kind of on the cutting room floor almost, and we really brought WNBA Live to life as an incredible fan fest. Also grateful for our WNBA changemakers, AT&T, Ally Financial, our newest changemaker, CarMax, Deloitte, Google, and Nike, and all of our partners that hosted activations throughout this week. They continue to really help us grow the game in powerful ways, and very grateful for that. Last night, Starry's three-point contest and Kia Skills Challenge I thought were great. At least my mom kept texting me, this is so exciting, from home. And I want to congratulate Sabrina on capturing her second three-point contest title, scoring 30 points in the final round, as you saw. That was the second most in our WNBA three-point history, second only to Sabrina's 37 in 2023. And I want to shout out Natasha Cloud on her Skills Challenge victory, my fellow Philadelphian. A thrilling buzzer beater to take home the win, and remarkable performances for Sad and Tosh, and proud of them. And tonight, the best of the best will take the floor in a showdown between Team Clark and Team Collier. But just congratulations to these incredible players, what they're doing night in and night out. What an outstanding group. And this matchup will feature MVPs, champions, veterans, rising stars, and rookies. A clear display of the depth and talent in our league. The three rookies you'll see tonight, Paige, Kiki, and Sonia, are the most rookies featured in the All-Star game since 2011. So as I was calling them to invite them to be, to tell them they were named as All-Stars, I did not realize that the three at three since 2011. So the future of the league looks bright. I also want to acknowledge a special story with Kayla Thornton. In her 10th season, Kayla becomes the first All-Star in Golden State Valkyries history and the first player to represent an expansion franchise in their inaugural season since 2006. So a phenomenal achievement, and she is playing in her first All-Star game. So we're in for quite a game tonight. You saw our format changes, and off the court, I continue to be inspired by the impact we're making. We did use All-Star for social impact, hosting various activations and activities. We had a WNBA Changemaker Day. We had more than 300 volunteers participating in a very impactful day at the Indy Motor Speedway. That was kind of fun to be over there. We had Basketball Without Borders, other youth activations. We launched our first ever WNBA HBCU intern program presented by Mael. 6 outstanding interns representing various HBCUs joined us for this week for a hands-on, behind-the-scenes experience of what it takes to put on an event like All-Star. And then earlier this season, we debuted Line 'Em Up, a new initiative that I'm extremely proud of because it's a campaign aimed at bringing the W closer to local communities by painting the WNBA three-point line on parks across the country. After a successful launch a few weeks ago in New York, we brought the initiative here to All-Star with a Paint the Town campaign, lining up a bunch of parks across Indy. So I think it's pretty cool that young girls and boys now will go to their outdoor courts and be able to see the WNBA line on When we tipped off the 2025 season, I was thinking about this on the flight here the other day. You know, we knew we were riding a wave of momentum, and over the past few months, we've only accelerated it. So the first half of the season has been filled with historic announcements, record-breaking fan engagement, unbelievable play on the court, and bold steps towards the future of our league. So as you all know, we recently announced 3 new expansion cities, Cleveland in 28, Detroit in 29, and Philadelphia in 30, growing to 18 teams by the end of the decade. We're also looking forward to next season when the Toronto Tempo, and now the recently branded Portland Fire, will officially take the court. And this year's debut of the Golden State Valkyries has set the tone for expansion teams to follow, from consistent sellout crowds of 18,000 plus to major wins over top tier teams. The Valks have shown what's possible when a new team enters with purpose, hires great people. They're providing a great, I think, blueprint for the future. So again, reflecting coming into the season, you all know I have a mantra every year. This year it was sustain and gain, sustain the momentum and gain off of it, and that's what we've done. So national viewership is up 23% year over year. Attendance is up 26%, the highest in decades, and we're seeing sold out arenas becoming routine. I was at both at Tuesday night's game in Boston and Wednesday night's game in New York, and I mean, these were playoff atmospheres. Merch sales have shattered previous records, up 40%, driven obviously by rookie sensations coming in this year and veterans. And all-star voting presented by Ally, one of their first activations with us, doubled from last year, up triple digits, 100% plus, with millions of fans making their voices heard during our All-Stars. And so we're really proud. When I landed at the airport, I mean, it's been my dream for an airport to be branded the WNBA, and when I landed here at the Indy airport, the dream came true. There was a ton of branding, as you saw as well. And lastly, I do want to share that we had a productive meeting on Thursday with the WNBA and the players. We're engaged in constructive conversations. I remain confident that we'll reach a new CBA, one that's transformation for the players, teams, owners, and the future of our league. So again, thank you for your continued support and coverage of our league, and with that, I'm happy to take questions.
Doug Farmer with the AP. Two-part question. The first one is just, can you talk about the growth of the All-Star games? This is, as you said, your prime time here seems to be the biggest one as far as activations and fans and such. And the second part is, a bunch of players and coaches over the last few days have complained, without being fine-worthy, about officiating. I just want to see about your thoughts on if officiating is an issue and how it can be improved. It's clear there seems to be problems or a disconnect between what players and coaches feel and what officials are actually calling.
Sure. Obviously, the growth of All-Star has been part of our strategy, is to really put on a elite, top-notch sports media and entertainment weekend, and I think we've really gotten close this year with kind of all cylinders. Again, thanks to the Indiana Fever and the Pacers organization for putting on such an outstanding weekend. So I'm really proud, and if you look no further than tonight, last night, and WNBA Live, to give you that, but it was a lot of the events around it too. A lot of our partners really are believers in our league. They're supporting us both financially and from a marketing and a branding. And I mean, again, I talk a lot about these corporate partners, but they're so important. Our media partners, so important to our success as we go forward. On the officiating, we hear the concerns, we take that input. Every play is reviewed. We spend hours and hours and hours. Obviously, we use that then to follow up with officials, training. Consistency is important, I think. I think some people observe our game versus other basketball formats are that there aren't a ton of fouls called, but I realize consistency is the name of the game. So I think it's something we definitely look at and evaluate, and there's an independent evaluation of our officials. There are ramifications. It's something we need to continue to work on. And as our game has evolved, so does our officiating. So we're on it, and I know as a fan of sports for 60 years now, I know that, no one's ever happy with officiating. All sports deal with it, but we're working hard to make sure we're putting the best product out on the court, and our officiating then follows that.
Cathy, next question, row 2 in the center.
Hi, Cathy. Howard Magdalene next. Good to see you. Two kind of housekeeping things. One is, obviously, there is an expansion draft that's going to come up soon, ahead of 2026, and to think about the order in which it happened, I'm wondering how much the CBA, your hope, is signed before there's an expansion draft. Obviously, there are a lot of teams, who are very curious about sort of how that process will work. And just related to it, a lot of the conversation extends beyond just expansion to also questions of roster size. Similar questions in the minds of many teams. Just if you take me through whether you think 12 is sort of a sustainable way going forward.
Yeah, on the first, obviously, we'll work through the expansion draft rules because it is something that is collectively bargained, so we hope that the collective bargaining process will be finished, and then we'll have an expansion draft, a 2-team expansion draft, as you know, with both Toronto and Portland. So on roster sizes, certainly it's something we'll discuss with the Players Association. That's also collectively bargained, so that is certainly on the list as well. And again, we're in listening mode back and forth. There's a process we're going through to listen to all the priorities of the owners, priorities of the players, and kind of make sure that we're addressing all of those, and as we look to the future of this league.
Thank you.
Cathy, next question, to your left in the front row.
Hi, Cathy. Alexa from ESPN. When talking with players yesterday about how that meeting on Thursday went, some felt that there was no progress made, some felt like there needed to be greater urgency to make sure a deal could get done by October. Would you agree with those characterizations, or where would you say things need to go from here, especially since it seems like there's no in-person meeting scheduled moving forward?
Yeah, there are meetings scheduled moving forward, by the way, but
In person.
again, I want to call it constructive. We had candid dialogue, and this is part of the process. When I first joined the league, actually 6 years ago on Thursday, I was 4 days in the job, and we had our first collective bargaining meeting at All-Star. So I actually think we've had a bunch of meetings already, and I appreciated how many players came to the meeting. I thought that was great. Communication's important, and having that meeting, being at the table was important with that scale of players. And I would just say we've been through these negotiations many times. This is only my second one, but my team has been through many of them. And I just want to say I really respect the players. We're listening. They're listening to our owners. And we're kind of in the middle as the league, trying to make sure we're setting this league up for success for decades. And that's the goal, to have a fair CBA for all. I want a lot of the same things the players want. I said that last time too, and it's not changed. And but we also have to have a process where we go back and forth, and that's where we're in the process. So I'm, again, still really optimistic that we'll get something done, that it'll be transformational, and that next year at All-Star we'll be talking about how great everything is. So, but obviously there's a lot of hard work to be done on both sides to get there.
Cathy, next question, row 2 in the center.
Cathy, Ben Pickman with The Athletic. Just following up on that real quick. I mean, one, do you expect a deal to be done by October 31st? And two, regarding the schedule, is it necessary for the WNBA to expand the schedule? And what is kind of the ideal number of games in your mind, or footprint for the schedule?
Yeah, good questions. Last time I think we got the CBA done mid-January. I think it was actually January 15th or something like that. Obviously, I have confidence we can get something done by October, but I'm not going to put an exact date on it because we're in a good place, and we're going back and forth, and there's a few remaining issues. We can extend dates here and there. Obviously, we want to have an expansion draft, a free agency period, everything before the college draft by the time the March Madness gets over for the women's game. But would we like to get it done? Yes. Does it have to be done exactly on that date? We've got some room to continue negotiations if we're close at that point. Your second question was?
Just regarding schedule.
Schedule. So, obviously this year we're playing the max we didn't play the max under the last CBA of up to 44 games until this year because we didn't have an international competition like the Olympics or the FIBA World Cup. And so as we go forward, obviously, We're looking at the growth of the league, we're looking at 18 teams, we're looking at a variety of things around, could we play more games in our footprint? But again, every other year, we do have this international competition. You know, the Olympics in 28, we have the FIBA World Cup next year, and that's placed around Labor Day week, let's call it. So, you know, we're trying to look at footprints, and it's unfortunately can't be consistent every year because of these international competitions, which we want to support. Because now, not only for our USA women's national team, who will be going for their 9th consecutive gold medal at the Olympics in LA, but also we're now over 20% players born outside the United States who are playing for their international teams. So we want to make sure we're trying to fit our footprint in so that we can support those international competitions, but also have a season worthy of where we are today as a hyper-growth league. So we're trying to strike that right balance from that perspective. And again, scheduling is always a Rubik's Cube when you're dealing with arena availability, broadcast windows, international competitions, and things like that. But I think you'll see us, you know, want a consistent footprint going forward. And, you know, when there's international competition years, it'll be a little different.
Cathy, staying in the center of the room, row 3.
Annie Constable, Front Office Sports. Hi, Cathy. When you talk about a CBA that's best for the league, that's best for both sides, from the league's perspective, why up until this point has the league been unwilling to propose a revenue sharing system that allows the players' salaries to grow with the league? Why the fixed rate?
Well, that's not accurate. We, you know, we've been talking about different ways to do revenue sharing. There is a revenue sharing in our existing CBA that is expiring after this season, so we already have a revenue sharing, but we were at a very different place in 2020 than we are in 2025. So I think you'll see the revenue sharing be a much more lucrative one as we go forward, because we're in a better place, quite frankly. So I think, again, that's why I'm so optimistic that we're going to do something transformational here, because we want the same things as the players want. We want to significantly increase their salary and benefits while balancing with our owners their ability to have a path to profitability as well as to continued investment. You see, you know, tens of millions of dollars being invested in practice facilities and other player experience by teams, and we want to strike the right balance between those two so that can continue, because that's helped our hyper growth, it's helped our free agency, it's helped our players, you know, play in places where they're getting a great player experience. So that's going to continue, I think, no matter what we do here. But it's a balance between those two. But there is a proposal on both sides around revenue sharing.
Cathy, next question toward the back of the room in the left, on the left.
Right here, Cathy. Hi, Cathy. Randall Williams, Bloomberg News. In your time as commissioner, you've negotiated multiple media deals. You've added a ton of new partners. You'll be at 18 teams by 2030. The CBA is obviously the next step in that. But for you personally, when the CBA is eventually done, what is next for your personal goals for this league? Is it adding that team in Houston that you mentioned? Is it you know, more partners? Is it more investment? What's next for you in this role as commissioner when the CBA is done?
Yeah, I would say we have entered this period the last 2 years, what I call hypergrowth. We're not going to be in hypergrowth forever. No company ever is. And so it's how to continue to sustain this momentum, gain on it, grow, and ultimately globalizing our game. I talked about what that means, and it doesn't mean just playing games globally, because a lot of people think that's it. It's actually, we have this enormous fan base. I met a fan today that flew here from Australia just for 2 days for this weekend. So how to, and she's obviously a super fan. How do we get more people engaged with the WNBA globally? Because I think we're really strong domestically now, and obviously we're going to be in Canada next year with the tempo. But what's it look like in Europe, Middle East, Asia, Africa? There's a huge amount of possibilities to turn these players into the global household name stars that they've now become here in the United States domestically. So I say that's the next big thing, but we have a variety of other capabilities we're trying to build around data, around fan acquisition, around using that data for insights to bring in more corporate partners at higher valuations to help our teams grow their corporate partnership base, ticket sales, season tickets, dynamic pricing. So there's a lot of things that we still, obviously, we've transformed enormously, don't get me wrong, over 6 years, but there's still a lot of hard work to be done. And I just come back to the players and the elite level of play they're putting on the court. I mean, I respect what they do every day, and so thrilled to represent them, because I think they're helping lift all of women's sports and, quite frankly, girls and women in society. So I think it's pretty cool when you walk around WNBA Live, and I was walking behind Asia Wilson today, and how these fans are just, you know, kind of so looking up to her as such a role model, I think beyond just her basketball ability. So those are kind of things, but I'd say the next big one is globalization for sure.
So Cathy, next question, row 1 to your right.
Hey Cathy, Kareem Cook from the Washington Post. I wanted to follow up on the schedule question. You talked about the footprint, and I'm curious, what's the thought about possibly expanding, going deeper into the calendar year as you add more games, or is it very much a priority to try to be as summer focused as possible?
Yeah, I mean, traditionally we've been May to October, kind of mid-May to mid-September, and then playoffs are about a month. You know, we're going to a 7-game final this year, so that tacks on a little bit. And so, and the way media looks at the value of media rights, they value the playoffs very much. So I'm glad we did that 7-game final, and plus it's just the iconic, you know, you saw the NBA this year with that 7-game between OKC and Indy. Yeah, I think there's a variety of things to look at. Again, next year, because of the FIBA World Cup, we may leak into a little bit of early November. We're still working through that footprint. But generally, I would expect still May to October. There's not much to do on the front end because of the college season, and the NCAA is such a big feeder of these amazing rookies, 3 of them now as all-stars, into our league. So I don't think there's much you can do on the front end. You can do a little bit on the back end. How many college football Saturdays do you want to go into? How many NFL Sundays do you want to go into? Although I would say, you know, our fan base crossover isn't, that's why data is really important to look at what's our fan base crossover with those other sports. And then the NBA would be starting. We generally haven't overlapped with them on their front end, our back end. You know, so those are all things we're looking at as we think about what's the best footprint, what's the best number of games for cadence of those games for our season. But I would expect May to October with maybe a little leakage into November in the near term, primarily next year because of the FIBA World Cup.
Cathy, next question, row 2 in the center.
Hi, Sabrina Richard, The Athletic. You have 3 All-Stars here who are not able to play because of injury, and I'm wondering, is the rate of injury something the league is concerned about or researching at all at this point?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think those 3 coming in towards the back end here right before All-Star totally understand why that's on the mind. I think the rate of injury is about similar to last year through the number of games we've played. Our game cadence is a little down this year in the first half of the season, I think 2.5 or something like that, and it was a little higher last year, so we can't look at that. So looking at data, player health and safety, obviously number 1, training, what they're doing in the off season, and things like that, certainly something that we look at all the time. But I know there's been some very high profile injuries, but our data would show that there's no significant increase in injuries through the same number of games as last year.
We have time for just 1 or 2 more questions. Cathy, all the way to the right.
Hi, Cathy. Aaron Barzilai from Hoop Stats. You've talked a lot about different kinds of expansion. Have you had much discussion about expanding All-Star Friday night, particularly with perhaps a rookie sophomore game to showcase the young players that are so popular and kind of helping with that connection from the college level to the W?
Yeah, this is a great question because nobody was asking this 5, 4, 3, 2 years ago, but I love that you're asking that. Obviously, last year we did have a 3rd component with the 3x3 game because it was in advance of the Olympics to give the 3x3 team a chance to play against college players. But absolutely, we're looking for more because even after the hour and 10 minutes last night, I was kind of like, look, these fans want more. And so yes, we'll definitely be looking at different ideas, different formats beyond the skills and 3-point. And I'm thrilled that, I mean, I got a lot of fans asking me that today at WNBA Live. We want more W this weekend, and we're going to look at that and hopefully deliver something in the future on that.
This will be our last question. Cathy, all the way to the right in the front row.
Hi, Cathy. Nikai Duncan of the Dunker Spot. I wanted to circle back to this upcoming expansion draft, as you alluded to earlier. It's going to be collectively bargained. With so much of the league hitting unrestricted free agency, so how is that going to complicate potential plans or rule tweaks on that front for this upcoming expansion draft?
Yeah, so obviously the expansion draft will come first and then free agency. We'll follow that, assuming we follow the same kind of collective bargaining process we've been following calendar-wise. So that'll push more into late January, early February. Hopefully we have the two-team expansion draft by then. There's a lot of things that we're talking about related to that, like you mentioned, unrestricted free agency. Obviously we have rookies under rookie contracts, rookie scales, those will be adjusted with the new CBA. So there's a lot of things we're thinking about from that perspective. I would just say stay tuned on that. We're still working through even what the expansion draft would look like in a two-team. If we followed the same as what we did with the Valkyries, you could probably figure out what that might look like. But for those that don't follow the league as closely, most of the league's veterans will be free agents in this period. They were obviously very thoughtful about how they thought about knowing that we were going to be in a new CBA by then. So it's going to be actually really interesting, I think, too. And I think players are going to have a lot of choice. And I tell every owner the player experience is going to be really important, especially for the top players who are going to want to pick where they go. And I think there'll be a lot of conversation, and I think it'll be really interesting to follow. But expansion draft should occur before that, assuming we stick with the same timing. So we'll know a little more after that expansion draft as to who truly then has the free agency status.
Cathy, thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy the game, everyone.
Reminder to our media, this will be